I suppose it's true for most people. It's a lot easier to talk about a book they didn't like than to talk about a book they really liked. Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to a review of The Long Form by Kate Briggs. This is a book I just finished reading. It did make the Republic of Consciousness North American Prizes shortlist. It's a book that I saw on Marc Nash's channel. He did a review of it as part of one of his weekly wrap-ups. I'll leave a link to that below. And then also Sarah at Eyes on Indie did a video in which she did this really cool thing where she kind of drew almost like doodles that kind of represented the novels. I'll leave a link to her video down below as well, because she did a really good job, I thought, in that video. And she talks about the long form. She's also a champion of that book. So I wanted to make sure that I credited those two people, because they're probably the primary reason why I chose to read this book. And like I said, I really, really liked it. So as I said in the intro, I have a hard time talking about books that I really, really like, because it just feels like I keep saying the same things over and over again. That this book was really great, or the writing was really wonderful, or something along those lines, and that just feels a little bit hollow. So I thought I would do something a little bit different. One of the things I did when I was reading this book is that I kept notes in my phone, which is why I'm shooting with my old GoPro and not my phone, which I've been doing for a while. And I just thought I would just read the notes that I made as I went through the book and as I read it, and then leave it up to Marc and Sarah to provide perhaps more comprehensive reviews if you want to check out theirs down below. So to begin with, I will summarize the plot. Essentially, we are introduced to Helen and her new baby Rose as they try to figure out how they're going to live their lives, how they're going to pass just one day, how they're going to find sleep and food, and for Helen and for Rose, intellectual stimulation, and how they're going to avoid boredom, and how they're going to navigate all the things that young mothers and their children have to navigate. At the same time this is going on, Helen has ordered herself a copy of Tom Jones by Henry Fielding, which she's reading, and Briggs is going to use Tom Jones, one of the first novels, which Fielding, I believe, said was a unique form of writing. She's going to use that as kind of a vehicle to talk about the novel. And so really the long form is about Helen and Rose and that relationship, and it's a discussion about the novel, which is illustrated by the novel you're reading called The Long Form. So let me just go ahead and read my notes just as I wrote them out while I was reading. So first, the book establishes parallels and contrasts between life and the novel and home as containers of life. This novel, that is The Long Form with Tom Jones, the questions Helen asks about Tom Jones, we are invited to ask about the long form. The connection between author and reader, and between one person and another. It draws parallel and contrast between authors as guides to their works and mothers and parents as guides for their children. It parallels and contrasts the early house depicted in Tom Jones with the interior of the house where Helen lives and where she and Rose spend much of their time moving from room to room. And it parallels literary theory with the form of this novel. Going on, it compares the decisions made in a life to the decisions made by a novelist, in that sometimes there is no explanation that can explain them. It relates how we dip into one another's lives thinking we have some understanding of them, but never really knowing it all, like we dip into the lives of fictional characters in the novel. It draws parallels between the word motherhood and how to define it, and the name of the novel, and what a novel is and isn't, and should and shouldn't be, while in fact continuing to be a novel itself. Names establish pacts between people and between author and reader. Helen and Rose, mother and daughter, are in a partnership to work out a pattern for their days and nights. When in sync, it's relaxed, easy, beautiful. When not, anger, noise, and frustration, just oftentimes as readers and authors, oftentimes the partnership between readers and authors breaks down. The novel highlights the difference between story and the novel, thus the name The Long Form, and indulges the theory of the novel and writing. It takes Tom Jones as a model for the novel, self-conscious in the fiction it creates. Then Briggs disassembles the form of the novel in her own pages, questioning traditional theory. It goes over the history of the idea of the novel, using Tom Jones as the beginning example, of which the long form itself is an unconventional example, and yet Briggs creates characters, Helen, Rose, Reva, etc., that we are interested in as readers and care about and can relate to. Like Tom Jones, the long form incorporates essays, discourses on topics related to but separate from the fictional parts of the novel. And I'm going to read you an example of the writing, which I just thought was lovely, as well as all that. So here we are from almost the end of the novel, well, within 100 pages or so. Here was the first tiny, soft falling drops of rain, a downy refreshment of light spring rain. It mixed the greens and the gray blue browns of river. It brought down a change its own strange dove-gray light. It landed gently on the bridge and interacted with the river. It picked out colors, every distinct shade of green. In the distance, it beaded the waterproof hood of the woman with the tiny brown dog who'd called Helen Sweetie once. "Hello, Sweetie," she'd said, as they passed one another, each on their way through their respective days. A misting, cucumber-scented rain. It altered the sensorium, making Helen feel briefly heady with the smells of refreshing earth and the now stronger river notes, muddy and mineral. Rain landed on the backs of Helen's hands. It felt like nothing, like vapor, slightly weighted vapor. So I just thought the writing, additionally to all the other things in the novel, was beautiful, so I wanted to read you an example of that. And then continue on with my notes. Rose, that's the babies. Rose's mobile, the little thing that hangs over a baby crib usually, tells a nonlinear story whose definition is created by contrast and association with Fielding's that is just as good. Let's see. And the depiction of the early days of the lives of the mother and child are relatable, touching, and lovely. Briggs is like a master magician who has studied the old masters, changed and perhaps improved their tricks, and is so confident that readers will still be amazed she is willing to show the reader how she has done it. I just thought it was a really, really great book. I hope that my notes give you as good an idea of why I thought the book was so remarkable and so great as a more formal review would be. As always, I look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.